The Dawn is back in D.C. and getting down to business. 12 days before his inauguration, President-elect Trump is about to arrive on Capitol Hill to pay his respects to Jimmy Carter. And he's aiming to bring the GOP together with a big powwow with Senate Republicans in the next hour. Trump also has the Democrats' panties in a bunch over his plans to liberate Canada and the Panamac Anal, and buy Greenland as well. But Fetterman thinks his party should chill with the pearl clutching.
There's a lot of talk about Greenland, for example. Now, and I know there's a lot of freakouts, and of course I would never support taking it by force. But I do think it's a responsible conversation if they were open to acquiring it and whether just buying it outright. I mean, if anyone think that's bonkers, it's like, well, remember the Louisiana Purchase? Well, I think Alaska was a great deal too.
So far, the Canucks aren't on board yet with Trump's threats to annex them as the 51st state. But this Canadian official told some idiot that he's open to other options.
I love the U.S. I love Americans. And I get it. President-elect Trump is a real estate tycoon. He's made billions. But that property's not for sale. We're proud Canadians, just like there's proud Americans. And if we join together and take on the world with a great trade deal between us, I think that'd be fabulous. No one could stop us.
Jesse, that was on your show last night.
Thank you.
Is Trump redefining the pre-presidency? I don't remember anything quite like this, where it's like he's like a CEO who just got the job and he's coming in with a splash.
Because he used to be president, so he already has that pop, and he was already pretty, I would say, powerful as president.
Yeah.
And then you have the lamest duck of all time on the other end of this. So those two converge into president-elect who's really the president. And this Canadian thing, he seems like scared when I talk to him.
Yeah.
That's not how people act. People act if you're about to take them over. Don't you dare. Don't even think about it. He's like, oh, listen, come on, guys. You want a beer? We'll sit down. Let's just talk. We're all friends here. He looks pretty vulnerable. Trump, though, this is just child's play. Trump has this mega bill that he has to pass within a couple months, and there's really no room for error. And the Senate wants to do it this way, and the House wants to do it this way, and there's only one vote in the House that they can lose. And they have this massive coalition with all these different types of people. And the Democrats this whole time are just poking them and saying, Musk hates you. Musk is really the president. And Thune hates Johnson. So they just have to walk this tightrope and get this thing done and make America great again.
Dana, I have a theory that secretly Democrats are kind of happy Trump won because now they can return to somewhat like the middle ground and stop having to defend the idiocy of extreme positions on trans, immigration, crime. What say you, young lady?
I think some of the Democrats are agreeing with you. Somebody from Pod Save America, which is a podcast that they do on the left, said, what are we doing when, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but when Biden does the interview and he's asked, would you have been able to handle another 4 years? And he goes, yeah, I don't know. No, how can we possibly get past the loss if we are still going to defend the last 4 years? And so there is a reckoning to be had. But President Trump's positioning in the pre-presidency is also an example of how weak the Democratic Party is right now. And they know it. And it's going to take them a while to figure out who's going to emerge. They have some squabbles on their own side as well. That's actually probably healthy. But if you think about John Fetterman, this is a guy who voted for the Laken Riley Act yesterday. He's basically saying, why is everybody freaking out? The Democrats have somebody that they could look to in him or in a Tom Suozzi, who is from upstate New York, who's like, guys, let's not just always freak out. Maybe we could do something. But I'll leave you with this.
Please do. Guess
who else said that Democrats are too quick to overreact to things that Republicans do?
Who?
Your favorite, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She says, maybe we should just rethink that. It's a good idea.
Harold, I would say in your face, but I'm going to give you a shot here. Dana brings up a good point about Fetty. He seems like he's your only bet now for 2028 if you don't enter the race.
And you think about it, he was not a favorite of some and then he's become a favorite.
I'm one of them.
Because he has, I mean, I think he continues to learn and evolve as a legislator. I'd say a couple of things. This is Trump's transition. Remember, Reagan had one heck of a transition because you had hostages in the Middle East, and the hostages were released shortly thereafter. Most presidents have meaningful transitions. This one is interesting because both chambers have gone Republican. In 80, the House didn't go Republican. It remained in Democratic hands. Although there's only a 2-seat majority for 1-seat majority, perhaps 2 or 3 seats, 1-seat special elections happen, it's still going to be narrow. And I think the president, if I were him, I'd be behaving a little like this. I'd probably do it a little differently with the actual things I'd be doing. But he has to demonstrate to Congress that they should fear him in many ways, because with such a narrow majority and some of the things he wants to do, and you look at the diversity of that caucus, some of them may be willing to vote not against him, but may want him to placate them a little bit more, negotiate with them a little bit more. 2, I don't mind some of the language about Greenland and Panama and all those things. But I do think, and I've said it before, the PBC strategy, price is border, which is national security as well, culture, and I would put crime in there as well. That was why the president won. And if he's able to talk about Greenland and Panama in that regard, then perhaps. But I would remind Senator Fetterman that I thought he was going to reference a Louisiana Purchase in a different way. When we were on yesterday, people talked about Greenland and talked about something 160 years ago, how it was up for sale in 1860 or 1867. The Louisiana Purchase was sold in 1803. And we bought it because Napoleon was at a weak point in the Caribbean, right? Now, what if somebody comes back and says, you guys got that at a cheap price? We'd like to buy it for more. We're not going to sell 40% of the country to somebody who wants to pay the French more, or the French is not going to renege on itself. So these things are just, I hear the president, I understand what he's doing, and I hope he gets what he wants, which ultimately are better terms for the U.S., better security for the U.S. And if this is the talk that gets us there, so be it. And I'm like AOC and like John Fetterman. Let's tone it down a little bit, let him get in office and try to work with him.
This is interesting, Kennedy, because I hearkened back just days ago. Watch me hearken. January 6th, the Democrats applauding themselves.
Oh, I'm sorry, Juneteenth?
Yeah, for peaceful transfer of power to Hitler.
Yeah.
So then they were going, oh, look how nice we are. We're approving of the election. We're validating it to Hitler.
Yes.
It makes no sense.
Nothing makes any sense, but I think that speaks to Harold's point about the way that John Fetterman is talking to American voters, because you have entirely scrambled coalitions. And I don't think a lot of the people who voted for Trump voted for him because now they're magically Republicans. I think you have people who are disaffected, who are forgotten, who have been left out of the entire process, and they finally have someone who is speaking to them about ideas and not just trying to divide them, which has gotten very old and very boring. So that's exactly what John Fetterman and AOC are going to do. They're going to try and piggyback off of this new political trend because they both want to be presidents. They both want to lead their party. I mean, I'm glad they're kind of at each other's throats because they show the division that is happening in the Democrat Party. And I'm also very happy that people are freaking out over Donald Trump because it just goes to show that they are terrified how powerful the presidency has become. And I don't mean the president. I mean the presidency itself, because we have not had a president for 4 years.
Yeah.
But we have had an incredibly powerful, anonymous consortium of people who are running the country into the ground. So maybe now is a good time for those legislators to rebalance the Constitution and take back some of the power that they have abdicated over the years to Joe Biden's little committee.
Now it feels right to say, in your face, Harold. All right.
I love you too.
President-elect Donald Trump has just arrived on Capitol Hill. But up next, catastrophic California wildfires continue as officials warn about water running out.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.